A tutorial by Learn Fast Studios.
Okay, let us start discussing about the variable size arrays first. Okay, so normally in the two-dimensional array, what is the declaration? Data type, space, variable name, double square bracket, equal to new data type of number of rows and then number of columns. For example, if we declare a variable like int a equal to new int of 2 and then 2. Can you able to figure out how many number of rows present in this variable a? How many number of rows present in the variable a? How many number of rows present in variable a? 2. For every row, how many number of columns present in that? 2 itself. That means in the first row, we will be having 2 columns. In the second row also, we will be having the 2 columns. Just imagine a case, in the first row, we want to get 10 columns. And in the second row, we would like to have only 2 columns. In the third row, we want to have 5 columns. In that case, C language will not support this sort of a scenario. So jagged arrays is one that sort of a solution which will allow us to have a variable size arrays in Java. Okay. So to declare a variable size arrays in Java, the syntax is same like your two-dimensional arrays, like data type, space, variable name, double square brackets equal to new data type. You need to give the one dimension. What is that one dimension? You need to fix how many number of rows and then leave how many number of columns that you want to allocate. So this is how you do that. After this, you have to tell first row how many number of columns you are expecting. So in order to define that, what you will do, you will say, for example, how to declare the first one variable data type is, let me say feedback equal to data type. Feedback will be in the form of strings, right? So let me consider like a string feedback, two-dimensional array, and then new uh, string of. Now you assume that you have 30 students or 3 students, and then you don't know how many questions that each student will answer, right? So in that case, instead of the wasting memory, what we will be doing is we will just leave the number of columns here. For example, first student answered 10 questions, then the number of columns in the first row should be 10. So in order to define that, what you will do, simply you will say feedback of 0. So where you are going to store the first student feedback, right? First student feedback. So here you will define new string of, now how many questions he has answered? 10 questions. Likewise, you can define. Okay. So for example, second student answered only 3 questions. Can you please tell me how to allocate the memory for the second student? How to allocate memory for the second student for 3 questions? How to allocate memory for the second student for 3 questions?
Feedback of 0 equals to new string of
Feedback of, yes, very good. But the problem is that feedback of 0 contains the feedback of the first student, right? What is my question? Feedback of the second student. Feedback of the second student will be stored in which location? Feedback of
1.
1. So hence what you supposed to do? Feedback of 1 equal to, now tell me, how many questions he has answered? 3 questions, right? So now, how many columns should be there in the second row?
3 columns.
3 columns. How to allocate that there is a requirement for 3 columns?
New string of 3.
New string of 3. Great. So that is how you will allocate the memory. Similarly, for example, I am having third student also. Third student would like to answer for 5 questions. In that case, where do
Feedback
we
of
store? Yes, feedback of 2
is
equal to
new string of 5.
new string of 5. Excellent. Now, can you able to understand one thing, that here the number of rows are 3, but in each row the number of columns are not fixed. Isn't it? The first row contains how many number of columns?
10.
Second row?
3.
Third row?
5.
But in the case of A, how many rows are there?
2.
In the 2 rows. How many number of columns are there?
2.
2. That means in each row, the number of columns are
2.
in each fixed. They are fixed. That means even though whether you have the data or not, you will be allocating the fixed number of columns for each row, right? But Java allows, by means of this, what happens? Suppose if you want to declare a 2-dimensional fixed size array, then what should be the size of this feedback? How to declare? Suppose you don't have this option, then what should be the size of this feedback array? If you don't have the variable size arrays in Java, what should be the size? How many number of rows are there?
2, sir.
How many number of rows in the feedback?
3.
3. So that means the number of rows will be 3. But the number of columns, among all these, which one is the maximum?
10.
10. So 3 and then 10. So what are the total number of memory locations that will be created?
30, sir.
30. But in this case, how many memory locations are being created?
18.
18 only. So by means of that, are we saving the memory or not?
Yes, sir.
So in the case scenario where you don't have a complete data, we have only sparse data. In that sort of the scenarios, we'll be preferring to use these kind of the variable size arrays. In other sense, you call it as an jagged array. Jagged array. Or you can call it as an variable size array. So both the cases are the same. So now let us take one example and then write a program which can able to create create a jagged array. So can you please help me out? What should be the program name for my program? Or should be the program name for my program? Class. Or should be the program name? Class space. What is the class name that I am supposed to give? What is the class name that I am supposed to give? Jagged array. Excellent. Jagged array AX. Now open bracket, close bracket. Now let me create public static, then public static
Void
main string
AR.
AR. Open bracket and then close bracket. Now let us create a jagged array with let us create a jagged array with 3 rows, and first row consists of 4 columns. Second row consists of 2 columns. Third row consists of 3 columns. Okay, so this is my program. So what am I supposed to do? How many rows? And then what is the data type? I'm expecting it to be an integer. Now, can you please tell me how to declare that? By looking at the previous example, can you tell me?
Int variable name.
Int, let me take the variable name as var. Then, since it is a two-dimensional, it is a two-dimensional jagged array, then I need to use 2 square brackets equal to
new int of,
let me say var1. Okay, and then new int of, now what should be fixed?
rows.
Number of rows. How many number of rows we are fixing?
3, sir.
3. Hence it should be 3, and then we will leave the number of columns placed. Okay, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now what should we do? We need to define the columns for each row. So how we can refer to the first row? How can we refer to the first row? How can we refer to the first row? How to refer to the first row?
Feedback of 0 equals to,
It is the first row in feedback variable, but now I want to refer to the first row in var1.
var1 of,
Excellent. var1 of 0 equal to
new int of
new int of
4.
4. Why it is 4?
In first row, 4 columns are present.
Yeah, in the first row, we are expecting to have 4 different columns. So that is why we are declaring it like var1 of 0 equal to new int of 4. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Next, can you tell me how to declare
var1 of
second?
1 equals to,
var1 of 1 equal to
new int of 2.
new int of 2. Next,
var1 of 2 equals to,
var1 of 2 equal to
new int of 3.
new int of 3. Is that clear? Any doubts, any questions?
No, sir.
Now, what are the total number of elements present in var1? How many memory locations have been created?
9, sir.
9 locations have been created. Suppose if you have to declare a two-dimensional array of the fixed size, then what should be the declaration? If you want to declare the two-dimensional array of the fixed size, not the variable size, what should be the number of rows? That will be the same as 3. But the number of columns, among all these number of columns, which is the maximum?
4, sir.
So hence it should be new int of 3 and then
4.
4. So what will be the total number of elements? What will be the total number of memory locations?
12,
Will
sir.
be created 12. But here, how many number of elements present?
9.
9. That means, do we save some memory or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that is how variable sized array or jagged array will help us to save memory location. When you are having sparse data, please make a note. When you are having sparse data, then prefer to use this jagged array. Okay. Can you tell me any real-time example where you will be having the sparse data mostly? One that sort of the case is one that sort of an application feedback. In the feedback, everyone will be given within feedback application feedback form. If it is not mandatory for all the questions, then some of you will answer one question, some of you will answer 5 questions, some of you will answer 10 questions likewise, right? Isn't it? Yes or no? If the feedback is having a questionnaire, if the feedback is having a questionnaire, if the feedback is having a questionnaire of 15 questions, all the students may not answer all the 15 questions, right? So in this, what will happen, for example, if I'm having the 600 students, suppose 600 into 15, how much memory location, how many memory locations are to be created? Around 9,000 memory locations have to be created, right?
Yes, sir.
For example, in this case, what will happen? Every student, if it is not mandatory, every student will fill all the 15 questions. May not be, right? So in that sort of the cases, we will be preferring to use this jagged array. And then one more kind of an example, graph, to represent the graph. You know, right? What do you mean by the graph? Graph is a collection of vertices and then vertices and then graph is a collection of vertices and edges, right? Do you remember in the data structure? You might be discussed about this graph, right? So for example, you may have something like you may have something like how to display this. Okay, I think I have chosen a wrong example for you. But anyway, okay. Now, what shall we do? Am I audible? Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now, what shall we do? We need to read the elements into this jagged array. How can we read the elements into the jagged array? If the case, suppose you are having the 3 rows and then 4 fixed columns, then you will be writing down a loop, right? So how to write down the loop? For int I equal to 0, I less than 3, I plus plus, and then you'll be writing down for int j equal to 0, j less than 4, j plus plus. And then here you'll be writing down the code to read where one of I, j equal to sc dot next int. Since you haven't declared this sc object, how to declare the sc object? Scanner sc equal to new scanner of system dot in, and then you will be declaring scanner import java dot util dot scan. Suppose if the case that, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in the case of we are having 3 rows and then 4 columns, this is how we'll be reading the elements. But now, can we apply the similar kind of the code logic for this jagged array also? Can we apply similar kind of the code for jagged array also? There are only two possible answers. Something is an yes or no. Why you are not giving the response? I am waiting for your answer. Can we apply the same reading statements for jagged array also? If yes or no, if yes, how? And then if no, how? Sai Shrestha.
Sir,
Yes. You want me to repeat the question or what?
sir,
Can we apply the same code for reading jagged array also? That is
Yes,
my
sir.
question. Can we use it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How many rows, how many columns are there in the first row? In
One.
var 1. In var 1, how many columns are there?
One,
First
sir.
row. 1.
3 rows, sir.
Abhiram. 3 rows. 3 rows. How can you come to know? It is 3 rows, but I am saying that in the second row, how many number of columns are there? In the second row, how many number of columns are
4,
there?
sir. 4 columns.
Second row,
Second row, 2 columns.
2 columns are there. But how many elements you are reading here in the second row?
4.
4. Will that be okay? You are having only 2 columns, and then can you you will be you are trying to read 4 elements. Can this be used?
No, sir.
So then what you have to do? You need to change it to
2.
2. If you change it in the first row, how many columns are there?
4.
4. Then if you change it to 2, how many elements will be read here?
2.
2. But how many elements present in the first row? How many columns
4.
present in the first row? So
4.
can this be applied as it is? This loop will read all the elements into this jagged array.
Yes, sir.
You didn't understood my concept. The thing is that suppose if you are writing loop like this, what will happen? First row, 4 elements will be read. Isn't it?
Yes,
In the
sir.
first row, 4 elements will be read. In the second row also 4 elements will be read. In third row also 4 elements will be read. But how many locations are there in the present in the first row? I
4,
mean
sir.
second row, first row it is 4, but second row it is
2.
only 2. But you are trying to read 4 elements in the place of 2 elements, which is wrong, isn't it? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So that is the reason you cannot apply the same code for reading this jagged array. So then what is the change that you have to do is, please focus, Sai. Okay.
Yes, sir.
What you are supposed to, can someone tell me from your class?
2, sir.
2. If you say 2, then what will happen? You cannot read all the elements into first row, right?
Yes.
Suppose if I keep it as in 2, first row, how many elements it will read?
Only 2.
Only 2. But how many elements it has to read?
4.
That means it is an error, isn't it? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So then how to adapt to the change? By means of a small concept called as in where one of I dot length. Okay. Now, what will happen? What will be the I when it is first entering? What will be the I? What will be the I value?
0.
0. And then where one of 0 dot length. What will be the where one of 0 dot length?
4.
4. So then in the first row, it will read for how many number of columns?
4.
4 columns. And now I value will become as 1 in the second row. Now, what is var 1 of 1 dot length?
2.
2. Automatically it will read only 2 elements in the second row. Only 2 elements in the second row. Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Next, in the third row, what is var 1 of 2 dot length?
3.
3. Hence, in the third row, it will read how many elements?
3 columns.
So that is how we can read the elements present in jagged array, right? So you can also replace this with var 1 dot length. Okay. Now, can you tell me how to display the elements of the jagged array? How to display the elements of the jagged array?
System dot out dot.
Okay, but you have to print all the elements. How to print? How to display the element? This is for reading elements in jagged array, right? Then how to display? Suppose if you are saying system dot out dot println, how many elements can be printed? Where is the first row, first column element? How to refer to the first row, first column element?
Var 1 of 0, 4.
First row, first column. Where 1 of?
Of 4.
Where 1 of?
Zeros.
0 and
4.
4. Already you have noted down that ith row, jth column element. Please refer to your notebook. Ith row, jth column element can be referred by means of?
If we want first element 0, 0.
0, 0. Okay, now in the first row, how many columns are there?
4 columns.
So hence, how many print statements you need to write?
4, sir.
4. Now, first row, second column. How to print? First row, second column.
0 and 1. Var 1 of 0.
0, 0 and then 1. And then first row, third.
0 and 2.
0 and then 2. First row, fourth.
0 and 3.
0 and 3. First row, do we have fifth?
No, sir.
No. So this is for first row. Now we need to print second row. Second row contains how many columns?
2 columns.
So then how to print? Those 2 columns. Second row. Second row, first element. How to refer to the second row, first element?
1 and 0.
1 and then 0, right? And then next, second row, second. 1 and then 0. Second row.
1 and 1.
Second row, second element.
1 and 1.
1 and then 1. Next. Similarly, third row contains how many columns?
3 columns.
How to refer to all those elements? How to refer to all those elements? Third row, first column. Third row, first column.
2 and then 0.
2 and then 0, right? Similarly, next.
2 and then 1.
2 and then 1. Next.
2 and 3.
2 and 2. 2 and 2. Okay. So likewise, how many print statements you are supposed to write? 4 plus 2 plus 3. which are nothing but nine system data. Instead of that, what you can do, you can replace that with some loop, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So how can you replace that? For in
For int I is equal to 0.
0, I less than, you need to refer to the number of rows. How can you obtain the number of rows? Where one dot,
Length.
where one dot length. Okay, then I plus plus. Next, after this,
System dot on. Right.
no, first row is having again columns, right?
Okay, sir.
Then
For
for
int j.
int j equal to
No.
0, j less than,
Where one
where one
I
of I. That means first row,
dot
how
length.
many columns are there? You can obtain by means of this length variable. Okay, and then j plus plus. Then after this, what you can do? Simply write system dot out dot println
Where one of I and j.
I and then j. You can have some space concatenated and then semicolon. After this, you can just print system dot out dot println semicolon. Okay. So now what we are doing, we have created one jagged array. That means a variable sized array of the size 3 rows, and first row contains 4 columns, second row contains 2 columns, and then third row contains 3 columns. So this part is for declaration, right? And then this part is for reading the elements. And then this part is for displaying the elements. Now, shall we compile this code? How to compile? Java C.
Class name dot java.
Okay. And then now you need to run Java space. Now it is asking me. So I need to enter 1, 2, 3, 4. That means first row completed. Now 5, 6. Second row completed. And then third row, how many number of elements are there in third row? Huh? In third row, how many number of elements are there?
3, sir.
3. So hence 7, 8, and then 9. So I have entered all the elements, right? Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So now in the first row, what are the elements that it will print? What are the elements in the first row?
1.
1. What are the elements in the first row? Why it will be 5? It is 1, 2, 3, 4. First row completed. Next, second row,
5, 6, 7.
5 and then 6. Third row,
7, 8, 9.
okay, that's it. So let us check whether it is printing the same way or not. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Are we able to handle a variable size array or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now a task for you. Okay, so what you are supposed to do, create a feedback of 3 students, where the first student gave 4 answers, second student gave 5 answers, third student gave 1 answer in the string format, Okay, what you are supposed to do? You need to write down how to declare first student. You have 4 answers. Second student 5 answers, and then third student 1 answer. So you are supposed to create one jagged array and then read their feedback, and then after that you need to display the feedback of all the students. Okay, so this is the question to you. So you will be given within